Good morning, everyone. So I think as you see this presentation, I think you must keep in mind the context Simon laid out for emerging markets. I think we face the same challenges in India with regard to the willingness of agents to pay. Ability to monetize, very competitive markets, and so on and so forth. So I think it's the same challenges. So during this presentation, I'll just give you a quick snapshot, of the context of the Indian market specifically, and then the evolution of our company, and a quick glimpse into our various business models, which sort of ranges all the way from pure transactions, to conventional classifieds, and then a hybrid model which is sort of a cross between classifieds and transactions, which we like to call the marketplace model. So here's sort of a quick snapshot of the Indian real estate industry, as well as the digital aspects of the real estate industry. So clearly there is a large-scale urbanization happening in India. We saw that happen in China 10 to 12 years ago. It's beginning to happen in India. That will create a huge demand and shortage for homes. We're expecting the market to grow by almost 6 times by 2030, which is massive growth. In terms of internet penetration, there are about 450 million internet users. A large chunk of that is on smartphones, and hence a lot of the traffic coming on to our portals is through the mobile platform. And with a lot of innovations such as instant apps, which we have on Makaan, we are also seeing our app traffic growing considerably. Now, this is a very interesting slide. It talks about the services opportunity over the next 5 to 7 years, and I think it harks back to what Simon also had in his deck, is that if you just look at the sheer size of the market, 13 billion in services, but of that only about 2 billion in advertising, and even a smaller portion of that in digital advertising. So again, the context is, where do you want to play? Is it enough to play just in the advertising space, or do you also want to participate, in the transactions revenue pool? Now, this is something which a lot of people may not have the context, but I thought I'd just sort of lay it out again, as you look at the market, and as even potentially people look at India as an opportunity. We've been through a cyclical downturn over the last 5 years, and we've had a very sort of wild west kind of environment as far as regulations go. But now we are beginning to see cyclical tailwinds coming back into the market. And at the same time, there have been some major structural reforms over the last 1 year, which I think bodes very favorably, for the sector going forward. I think the big one there was, demonetization. I think a lot of people kind of heard about that, in the media, caused a lot of short-term pain. But I think for our sector in India, where there was a lot of cash involved in transactions, that's beginning to go away. Which really helps organized players, like us. The second was the Real Estate Regulatory Act. I think the big change was that now developers and agents will be held accountable, by a central regulator and a state regulator. Previously, there was very little accountability anyone had, in the sector, which led to a huge erosion of confidence and trust in the market over the last few years. And that's part of the reason why we saw this downturn, because faith had completely gone from the market, with developers not keeping to any of their promises in terms of delivery. Here's a quick sort of chart which shows the evolution of of the company. We started back in 2011 as a pure play transactions player, and in 2015 we acquired Makaan.com. Which operated as a conventional classifieds, but within a year of acquiring it, we transformed it into a classifieds model, into a marketplace model, and that's something I'm going to talk to you about today in terms of how we've conceived that model, and how that model enables us to sort of be this, at least in our opinion, a perfect hybrid between what a classifieds company does and what you need to get what you need to do to get into transactions in an asset and people light manner. Then in 2015 and 2016, we bought a couple of companies, on the visualization side of things, and this has really helped us provide those tools, which again was spoken about, to add to our revenue streams for large brokerage firms as well as developers. And then in 2017, we acquired Housing.com, which had been operating, as a conventional classifieds company to sort of round out our entire portfolio of, going from, transactions all the way, to a conventional classifieds play. Just to give you a sense of, PropTiger.com, essentially what we do is we are a residential transactions platform which focuses mainly on off-plan properties or new homes, which is homes being sold by developers and purchased by homeowners. So the way it works is again very traditional. Lead generation and search happens online on the PropTiger.com portal, and then what happens is those leads get passed on to our agents in real time. What we take pride in is that any time a lead gets dropped on a platform, within 5 minutes you get connected to an agent. And we've seen that as you keep shortening the time to that instant connect, the conversion rates dramatically go up. But we have these agents on our roll, and we make revenue from commissions. So in the primary market or the new homes market, the consumer pays nothing, but it's the developer who pays you a commission. And in the resale market, you can earn commissions, on both sides. But I guess one thing to keep in mind about this model, while we've grown over the last 5 years, and we clearly have emerged as the leading branded player in online brokerage. I think the challenge to keep in mind as we look forward is that this model has inherently scale challenges, given the fact that it is a linear business. But as you have to keep growing the business, you got to keep adding agents on your rolls. Housing.com is a traditional classifieds business. I think the big USP of the platform, and the reason we bought it to some extent as well, is that it's the only classifieds platform in India at least which has 100% verified listings. As you would recognize that in India we don't have the MLS, the source of listings is suspect, and a lot of the platforms, including some of ours, are challenged with the issue of fake listings. So Housing, in order to address that, sends a photographer and a data collector to every house which comes on, to a platform, for listing. In terms of the revenue model, we charge developers and brokers upfront, and that's mainly for listing packages, advertising, and marketing solutions. So again, nothing different, from a conventional classifieds. We have gone into the mortgage origination space here as well, wherein we generate inquiries for mortgage finance companies, and that's beginning to grow as an additional revenue stream for us. Now, this is the Makaan marketplace. As this is sort of really the subject of discussion today, and would love folks to ask questions if it's not very clear, because it's a very different model. We worked on it for a year between 2015 and 2016, when we bought Makaan, and now the results that we are seeing are pretty encouraging. And we believe that this could be a very interesting model, going forward. There's going to be a short video here. It's in Hindi, but there are sort of subtitles, so I would urge you to focus on what's written.
हर डील क्लोजर पे अशॉर्ट इंक्वायरीज और अपने शहर के एक्सपर्ट सेलर बनने का मौका. So join us on this journey where we'll grow together. सिर्फ हमारी ना सुने. Hear it from those who have grown with us.
Makaan.com has not only provided me with unlimited listings, but it has also provided me with genuine and authentic leads.
Makaan.com पर लिस्टिंग फ्री हैं, जिससे मुझे हर महीने लीड पैकेज एंड लिस्टिंग रिन्यू करने की कोई चिंता नहीं होती.
Well, with Makaan.com, all I need to do is to disclose my deals as soon as they are done, and it's helped me to grow my business.
Since I've become city expert on Makaan.com, my business has grown a lot in few months thanks to Makaan.com.
तो आज ही Makaan.com पर रजिस्टर करें and let's discover the joy of growing together. Makaan.com. Find joy.
Sorry about the sound, but in terms of the platform, the way it works is how do we incentivize sellers on the platform? One thing is as one would understand that we were the challenger brand in the market when we came out, and to have a large sales force trying to sell listing packages would have been a challenge. Given that traffic was much lower compared to the leading brands. So the model was no upfront subscription or listing fees. So nobody had to pay anything to get onto the platform. It was a pay-as-you-earn model. So very clearly, once you concluded a transaction from a lead given to you from Makaan, and you made a fee out of it or a commission out of it, you would then disclose that transaction to Makaan and pay Makaan a cut from the fee you made. So in that sense, there was sort of no barriers to entry for agents to come onto the platform, because they had to pay nothing at all to be on it and to start getting inquiries from the platform. The second feature about incentivizing the sellers was that better performance leads to more visibility and more business. So the more deals you disclose, the more leads you get, and the higher visibility you get on the platform. So there is this incentive, or you can say disincentive if you look at it conversely, that if you keep taking leads for free and you keep sort of if you decide to sort of cheat the system and not disclose transactions, very quickly the system figures it out and puts you right at the bottom of the pile, and you stop getting any further inquiry. So there is this incentive for people to disclose transactions on the platform. And then second is, the more you disclose, the more visibility you get, and your listings show up on top. You may have noticed on the video, or you may not have, that there's something called an expert seller tag as well. So basis the number of transactions you've done in a particular neighborhood or city, you get expert status in that neighborhood. So again, there is this, people who want recognition, good agents who want that visibility, get so by actually disclosing transactions, which is how the platform ultimately for us, we make money. Then the city-based ranking of sellers, this is very, very important. Again, I kind of alluded to that, is that, people who get higher ratings from consumers and who get, better reviews, they get higher visibility on the platform. So again, as we like to say, that quality is currency. If you're behaving properly, and if you've got good quality listings, you will, in all likelihood, show up on top. And it's not something that you can purchase by paying more money. It's simply by actually doing the transaction and, disclosing, that transaction to the platform. And what it ultimately does is, it really creates an alignment between the home seeker, the seller, the agent, as well as the platform. Typically, in a conventional classifieds model, what happens is that once the lead is given, to the agent, the platform loses track of both the, agent as well as, the buyer. In the case of Makaan, the kind of systems we've, laid out, including with masked numbers and such on the platform, that we are in constant touch with the buyer, even after the lead has been dropped. And because of the post-paid model, where, once you conclude the transaction and disclose, we're in constant touch, with the seller as well, to see, or the agent as well, to see how they are doing and how the platform is performing for them. The other one is, building trust with, home seekers. I think this is critical. Ratings and reviews, from real buyers are part of the search experience. Which a lot of classifieds I found are unable to do because the agent or your customer actually pays you for listings. So there is a sort of reluctance, for them to get rated, which on Makaan is not there. And so it becomes a very integral piece of the search experience for the buyer. We seek ratings and reviews from every home seeker, be it the one who's actually concluded a transaction on Makaan or not. And these could be across various features, of the agent's performance. How was the quality of, the site visit? In many instances in India where there are fake listings, we also get ratings on, the genuineness of the listing, and so on and so forth. And then, as I mentioned before, the higher you are, in terms of your rating, and the better the quality of your listing, the higher you go up on the platform. Thus, for buyers, I think the most important thing is that automatically, what they see on the platform in the, the initial results, or to a large extent, several pages into the search results, you see very high quality agents and high quality listings. And then the other big thing is that, again, for a challenger brand which was trying to build or solve this sort of two-sided marketplace problem, that how do you get supply in order to get demand, and vice versa, by having no barriers to entry, for listings on the platform, we managed to get a lot of listings. Today we are the platform in India with the highest number of listings on Makaan, which creates maximum choice for the buyer, which ultimately is why a buyer comes to your platform. I think this is also interesting, what are the benefits to the platform? I think what we found that, because we have the largest, volume of listings content, our organic, growth has been tremendous. We found that, and you'll see that data later, that organic traffic on the platform, has gone up considerably because of this, constant growth in, listings volume because of no barriers to entry. The other interesting part is a lot of the classifieds players in India, have an army of people because, they go and sell a package. Then there is the whole issue of collections, checks bounce, a myriad of operating issues. Because our entire platform is premised on self-disclosures by agents and payments online, our operating footprint is very, very small in comparison to other classified sites, including our own classifieds platform, housing.com. The other interesting part is that, there's minimal offline, intervention. It's a tech-driven platform, and we are able to participate in the transaction without actually having a sales force. Whether it's a salesperson trying to sell to the agent, or whether it's a person actually going and trying to sell to the consumer. Transactions are disclosed voluntarily, and we get a cut from that transaction without actually having a sales force. The other thing is, because of unbiased ratings and reviews from customers or from consumers, what we find is that because of the higher quality listings and higher quality agents showing up on top, the conversion rates are much higher and the conversions take place a lot quicker because consumers are dealing with better quality agents in a particular neighborhood. And then again, because there is a penalty for agents to provide poor quality listings, and poor quality listings get seen lower down in the platform, there is this self-correction mechanism where agents automatically want to improve the quality of their listings, which ultimately leads to higher quality on the platform, not just high quantity. These are just sort of a few screenshots of how we collect ratings from buyers. This is there's detailed reviews for each seller in terms of their behavior, the property options, site visits, meetings, etc. Seller scores and ratings are completely integrated into the search experience, as I mentioned. And there is seller profiling with performance data. So good quality agents love this fact because their profiles are provided with ratings, reviews, the number of transactions they've done. And that's a source of immense pride for them as the way they get profiled on the platform. So I think I've run out of time, but very quickly, where Makaan is today, more than 20,000 transactions have been facilitated on the platform in the last 1 year. We have more than 800,000 listings on the platform today, which is higher than any other classifieds player in India today. We have more than 10,000 rated and reviewed agents. And as I was mentioning, organic traffic growth has been tremendous, and it continues to grow because of the constant sort of growth of quality content on the platform. So that's what I have. Happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks,
I want to go through some of these questions because I've been having a look. Please use the Slido application or just the website up here. The first question I've actually got is, you said telling you that they've done a transaction is voluntary, but you get a part of the transaction. Why would I tell you I did a transaction if I'm going to have to share the commission with you? How do you track
right? So
that
I think,
with disclosure?
So I think that's Simon, was the crux of the model, right? Because it seems pretty straightforward to be able to get listings for free, and then to even provide inquiries for free. Agents are extremely happy. As I mentioned, that what we've got, with the PropTiger business over the last 6 years, we have data, a lot of data. And I didn't mention that we also have a very strong data business, which is like a SaaS product, which private equity companies, banks, developers use, to make, real estate investment decisions. So we have a very good sense of sales velocity in various neighborhoods and how quickly leads should convert. So let's say in a particular neighborhood, 100 inquiries typically should, end up resulting in 1 transaction. There we sort of, notify you through the app that, look, you've done 100 transactions, you should have disclosed by now. There are 3 other agents who've done that. So by the way, if you want to continue to get inquiries, please disclose. In a certain neighborhood, we do it after 200 inquiries because we know that sales velocity is low. Okay. So because of being smart, we aren't sort of bullying the agent into paying. Otherwise, it would be one and the same as selling classifieds. And for them, because they make money from the transaction, they see their business growing, they're more than happy to share a cut of the transaction because there's no upfront fee. They don't feel there's no fight with them about quality of leads, because as long as they close a transaction, they are happy and they pay us. What percentage do you capture of roughly the transaction fee? So look, what we found is that, what percentage of the transaction fee we capture? Well, so at the moment, it would be more like 15%. So 15% of what the agent gets. Of what the agent earns. Right. And the idea is to kind of keep increasing that. Yes. What we started to do now, to the point you made, Simon, is that now we are empowering agents with providing other services as well, rather than doing it ourselves. So we say we've got this tie-up with the mortgage origination, with the bank. So, by the way, if you offer mortgage services as well to your client, we'll pay you a cut of that. So rather than dealing with multiple banks, we do that. We've got the same tie-ups now with furniture companies, furniture rental companies, and other sort of secondary revenue streams that you mentioned, which is all being done by the agent, and we get a cut, from that again. So the agent suddenly feels that they've also got multiple revenue streams on the platform, and we kind of get a cut from each of these sort of different revenue streams.
That makes sense. I think we've answered that first question, which is, how do you prevent platform leakage? They're partner agents going direct to the sellers and cutting you out from receiving commission.
Yeah, I think we've answered that.
I think we've answered that one there. How do you manage both pay to list and I assume that's CPS being the sharing of the revenue offers between the two different platforms?
Two competing platforms.
Yes.
In our own. I think it's very interesting. I think what we find that in India, because today it's really a buyer's market, right? Everybody's really struggling to find buyers, and there's huge competitiveness in buyers wanting to get agents wanting to get these buyer leads. So they spend money across different platforms, and they are more than happy to budget something as a marketing fee upfront, which at housing.com we get a share of that, and for that we compete with our other competitors. But with Makaan, they see it as a very different model, and they're more than happy to be on Makaan, and on housing. The other interesting thing we found is India is a large country, and And beyond the top 10 cities, most of the classifieds, including housing and our competitors, don't have a very significant presence because it's just expensive to have, like feet on street and, offices, in those cities. But for Makaan, because it's a completely online model, today we are the leading classifieds, or you can say from that perspective, from the agent's perspective, the leading player, in these tier 2 markets, because the entire process, happens online. So in that sense, there's not even a geographical overlap between housing and Makaan. Makaan sort of pan-India. Housing is more in the top, 10 to 12 cities of the country.
Okay. There are no listing fees. How do you stop abused sellers, I'm not quite sure what abused sellers are, from spamming your listings? How do you stop people from spamming just to generate leads?
So they keep spamming, right?
Yes.
How do you, look, the problem of spam, exists, funnily enough, even in conventional classifieds. Because, you sell, because we don't have the concept of exclusive mandates in India, there is no MLS. So today, as a conventional classified, if I sell you a package as an agent for, let's say, 50 listings, because I have to justify charging what I'm charging, you may not have, 50 properties which you have to sell. So you spam it anyways in order to get, leads. And because you've paid for those spammy listings, and you might have paid, premium dollars for it, you might actually, end up showing up on top with a spam listing. In the case of Makaan, while there are spammy listings, I admit, what happens is they all get pushed to the bottom. Because what we ensure is that when the buyer is searching for a property, on the search results page, the algorithm automatically creates a dispersion in the terms of what agents and listings show up. So for example, if let's say one agent here ends up putting 40,000 listings, and let's say Simon puts like 400, doesn't mean he'll get spammed out. Because in order to create dispersion and choice for the consumer on the search pages, he will have equal sort of visibility as long as he's rated high and he's got a quality listing.
Okay, so that leads into a couple of other questions. One is the high rating that agent's got to be, I assume, aligned with the reviews of that agent. How do you stop agents from viewing themselves, and how can buyers trust those reviews?
So I think one of the things is that agents can't sort of give the reviews themselves, because, and I think one thing I explained, and I think I saw that one of the companies here actually did mention that they provide a service by which you can actually track the calls post dropping of an inquiry. So all the numbers on Makaan.com are masked numbers. We have recorded conversations. We know exactly what's sort of happening during the process. We communicate with customers directly through notifications and other things on the app or through emailers and stuff to get those ratings and reviews. So we get it from the customers, not from the agent. And I think the second question was, I missed the second piece.
So one was the agents reviewing themselves,
yeah.
and the other is how can buyers trust the reviews?
Look, the buyers trusting reviews, is, I think that's the big question mark, right? I mean, our sense is that, buyers in India are beginning to get used to seeing reviews and ratings on multiple platforms and are beginning to rely on it. In the beginning, there is skepticism, obviously. And later on, you sort of realize that, look, hey, this rating makes sense. Because, I just spoke to the agent was extremely polite, I went for a single site visit, they showed the property they had on the listings. It's a bit experiential. The unfortunate part is, given that real estate is a very infrequent transaction, every new customer, sort of doesn't know.
Yes.
But I think there's general trust in ratings and reviews on online platform which is beginning to build because of all sorts of different, whether these are restaurant sites or, delivery sites or, e-commerce platforms. People generally have started believing on online ratings as long as the platform itself has credibility. So given that Makaan is seen as part of sort of a larger group and a credible group, I think the ratings which people see on Makaan are treated with some degree of confidence.
Dhruv, thank you very much for this. It's fantastic what you guys are doing in India.
Thank you. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you.